So reflecting on past anime to game adaptations, such as those from the Naruto era, can illustrate the financial stakes involved. Because game development costs can be substantial, expenses often reach around $1 million, but many games have budgets as high as $2 million. So, while some exceed this range, this estimate provides an average baseline. For instance, consider a game with a budget of $2 million. Because this amount is available, it allows for the development of a game with a reasonable amount of content. But this budget only covers development costs, so additional expenses are required for the full scope of the project. Because development funding is allocated to core aspects like graphics, programming, music composition, specifications, debugging, and finalizing the game for release, these expenses quickly add up. But beyond development, another significant sum is necessary to bring the game to market. So, separate funding is required for distribution. Additional costs arise from hiring voice actors, recording dialogue, designing packaging and manuals, and creating promotional videos for marketing events. Because of these factors, the total budget increases. But this varies depending on the project. So while some games stay within budget, others exceed expectations by a large margin. At this point, an issue becomes evident. Because sponsorship expenses must be factored in, the overall cost rises further. Because of this, some might argue that all game projects should expect to operate with a $3.3 million budget, but the majority of publishers do not share this perspective. So developers must work within the constraints of their funding, regardless of whether the property is an original title or a licensed franchise. Even if minor cuts can be made, careful consideration is required to avoid impacting the game's success. Because development budgets often face significant cuts, most projects are reduced by half. So when financial constraints worsen, game quality inevitably suffers. This is where publishers make critical mistakes. They invest heavily in acquiring exclusive rights. They assume fans of the anime will automatically purchase their product. But this overconfidence leads to complacency. So, instead of focusing on crafting a well-developed game, shortcuts are taken. Because they believe children will recognize the characters and buy the game regardless, publishers prioritize brand recognition over game quality. But this results in a lack of effort to explain the world or story of the original work. So, as long as the characters appear, shouting their signature moves, the assumption is that no one will care about deeper mechanics or storytelling. Because of this mindset, the focus shifts to releasing the game as quickly as possible while the anime is still airing.